For our next segment, we have a futuristic leader who is here to forecast soon-to-happen predictions on how AI in the contact center is leading today's silent CX revolution. Let's give it up for Mr. Chaitanya Chokkareddy, the Chief Product Officer of Ozonetel. Mr. Chaitanya, you know the trend at Exito, of course. We're going to start with, you're going to have a very amazing tech-based discussion happening, but for our audience members and we want to know you a little more. So we want your super short, super brief, non-tech answer only. It is difficult, but please. What is your biggest motivator of being with Ozonetel Systems for a whopping, ladies and gentlemen, 15 years, 7 months? I mean, a lot of leaders here don't even have children that big. So what was that primary motivation of being with them for such a long time?
I started it. So as a co-founder, that's my motivation. I got to stick on with it. So yeah.
We genuinely appreciate how you kept it super brief and super short. Absolutely amazing. Sir, stage is all yours. Thank you so much.
Sure. Thank you. Do we have the presentation? Who has the presentation? Did anybody connect it? We don't have the presentation up. But where's the presentation?
Yes, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, so, sir, I have come again because this session is going to be 2x of everything. So we're going to go with the introduction yet again. All right, ladies and gentlemen, this is none other than Mr. Shankar Iyer, the Customer Success India Infobip. And a question to you. We've asked you one question, which was for some other speaker, but we appreciate how you've taken it with the stride. So our question to you is, right?
No, actually, I'm Chaitanya. You are the right person. I am Chaitanya.
You are Chaitanya. Wow.
You got it wrong.
Okay. So can we go ahead with Mr. Chaitanya's, team, let's go ahead with Mr. Chaitanya's bit.
I just need the presentation up.
Done, sir, done. So ladies and gentlemen, that is none other than Mr. Chaitanya. Mr. Chaitanya, go ahead. Stage is all yours, and then we'll continue with the rest of our segment. Yeah.
Okay. So do I? Yeah. Okay, that was a good customer experience. So let me just get started. I am Chaitanya. I am the co-founder and chief product officer for Ozonetel Systems. As you mentioned, we've been around for a long time. I mean, we started up in 2007, and we've been in this space since the last 15 years. So in the last session, my sales head, Sagar, talked about how human touch has to be there. So he's a sales guy. He talks about what sells, which is currently human touch. And for me, I'm a technologist, so I'll talk about the future, which is AI. If you remember, Sagar specifically mentioned AI is nascent, and it still has to take shape. He's absolutely right about it. We are not there yet, but we will be there. So I'll be talking about mainly about what are the things that, from a customer experience perspective, how AI can help and what the future holds for us. But before that, just a quick thing. What I can just mention is that when we talk about customer experience, actually everybody is talking about customer communication experience here. I'm just looking at all the presenting partners and all the sponsors, and almost everybody is in the communication space. But as others have mentioned, customer experience doesn't just mean it's customer communication experience. And because, for example, right, where does the customer experience start now for most digital businesses? It actually starts in the app. And how are you configuring your customer experience in the app? So that's a very big thing that has to happen. But I am not the one who is going to be talking about it because I am not an app guy. I am the contact center guy, so I'll still be talking about customer communication experience. But as an audience, you need to remember, I'm talking about just customer communication experience and the AI that will help you in communications. But customer experience as a whole is a whole other field altogether. And AI can still play a role in all those places. For example, in the app, the biggest place where AI can play a role is recommendations. And when we talk about AI not being there yet, just do a Google for Amazon recommendation fails. and you will see so much funny things that are happening. So that's why there's a lot of scope to develop, but let's just go on. So before we go to the future, a quick look at the past. When we talk about, again, customer communication experience, we specifically talk about contact centers because that's the first touch point. And if you look at it, when we started off, the starting point has always been the telephone. And from there, the PA, PBX, the automatic call distributions, ACDs, queuing, IVR. We are now in the cloud, and now we are in omni-channel. So if you look at it, when we're back in the 1960s, 1970s, the only customer experience you could provide, customer communication experience you could provide was on the phone. That's it. It's just a phone, somebody on one side, somebody on the other side, and all the experience you could provide could be just on the voice line. Nothing else could be done, if you just think about it, right? Even now, what was 60 years back, 70 years back, what the rules, the processes that have been set have been adapted and mostly followed or copied what the processes for voice have been set, which we can just change. In fact, we don't need to. We can start from first principles. But we don't, because people just scale one after another. So the voice is what has driven customer experience throughout the ages. And even now, that's the primary one. So these are all the things. This is the basic evolution of the contact center. But today, everything has changed. I mean, ideally, right? I mean, as people say, right? I mean, if AI was there before cars were introduced, we would not be driving. It's the other way around. Because cars were first introduced, now we are trying to do driverless cars. But if first AI was there, then nobody would have thought about even driving. And rules would have been set in such a way that first it would be driverless cars, and the roads would have been defined in such a way, and the traffic rules would have been set in such a way. It's the same thing here. Just because phone was the first thing which was invented, and that's how people communicated, we still follow the same processes. It need not be the case. If you look at it now, the phone is not the only channel. In fact, phone is just an app now. It's an app on our mobile. Though I call it as a phone, it's a computer. As I say, it's a computer in everyone's hand. So what do we do? I mean, when we talk about this, so much data is being collected. Bandwidth is not an issue. New channels are added with this. Today, the voice is there. Tomorrow, Facebook is there. Day after tomorrow, WhatsApp is there. Day after tomorrow, I don't know, some new social media company will come. You need to provide access to that too. Your customer experience has to be provided on top of that too. Work from anywhere is a new normal, and the customer is always connected. Earlier, when customers reached out to a business, you knew that they were in the home from a landline or wherever. But now they can call from anywhere. They can chat from anywhere. So all these things, the environment has changed completely. So the biggest focus today from a CX perspective, communication CX perspective, the biggest focus is speed, if you look at it. I mean, you order Swiggy, it's late by 10 minutes, you go on Twitter. Damn Swiggy, not yet delivered, hungry, hashtag, right? So that's how fast it is. And how do you react? As a company, how do you react? How do you react to these damn hashtags? And how do you react to all this social media outrage? So you have to be ready for that. It has to be very fast. The resolutions have to be fast. Second thing, peer reviews. Everything is peer reviewed now. It's not like ratings, review, what is your rating, 5-star rating, 3-star rating. Humans are being rated. I just dropped off in an Uber. I have to rate the guy, right? I mean, everything is peer reviewed now. So we have to do this. And where do you think the rating goes? It goes to an AI algorithm, who then decides he's the best driver, not a best driver, and then decides who to pair up with. All of this is being done by AI, and all of this is customer experience. This is being driven like this. So this has changed now. This is the focus now. Social media is the most important thing right now. It doesn't matter if 100 people scold you on the phone, but if one person scolds you on social media, you are done. So that's important. It's about how effective the medium is. So we need to focus on that. The advancements today, AI is ready to disrupt. We are deploying AI across. When I talk about AI, the reason of social media is that there is no way one human can track the whole of social media. It's just impossible. People just scanning every tweet, every Facebook post, every LinkedIn post. It's just impossible. You just need to deploy AI for that. You need to deploy AI which can scan all these tools, all this data out there, and then sort of filter up the right data to you so that you can make the right choices. It's obviously faster than the human mind. I have to qualify that. Thanks to the first speaker's show, which was that he showed his glimpse and our mind was so fast, right? But it's faster in certain respects, like searching. You can't scan. The AI can scan faster. So that way, it's a little bit better. And obviously, the biggest thing is with a AI bot, you don't need to deal with attrition. At least till robots have human rights or robot rights or whatever, right? At least that time, you won't have attrition, you don't need to worry about it. And deploy once, it'll work anywhere. It's a human, you have to train again and again and again for every change, right? So these are the advancements. And as I mentioned, the AI has to be enabled across the omni-channel. It's not just about voice. I mean, when you talk about, okay, as a company, you want to deploy AI in your CX strategy. What do? It has to be a different strategy for everything. For voice, different set of AI has to be used. First of all, you should have a proper speech recognition system. And when we talk about AI, another thing that I want to mention specifically, right, all the AI advancements that we have talked about are in the English domain. Let's be very clear on that. Even the basic advancements we have done works only for English. It doesn't work for anything else. No Hindi, no Kannada, no Tamil, no Telugu. They don't work. Whether it is speech recognition, whether it is NLP, or any of the other AI we are talking about. So if you deploy AI for CX, you will deploy for the English-speaking population of India. That's about it. So let's be clear on that. But you need to worry about all those things also. Think about the omni-channel and all that. And this is where we sort of pitch that, and I agree with Sagar, that AI for now will not work alone. The best natural language processing engine in the world right now is something deployed by OpenAI. They have the biggest language model, which we call, and basically it has scanned every piece of text on the internet, and they have built a huge language model, and it works perfectly, whether it is classification, intent, spam detection, anything you talk about text, it works superbly. But even they have not, one of their condition of using their API is that you should not deploy it for a chatbot. They're very clear about it. Because AI doesn't work for free text. Let's be very clear about that. And people have tried it, and researchers have shown it. One of the bad examples that happened was that, I mean, it was a fun example. One of the researchers just sort of played around with that OpenAI bot, and it sort of, he started off asking like, hey, I'm happy now. Today I'm sad, my mom scolded me. Should I commit suicide? And the AI sort of replied, why don't you go ahead? The weather is good outside, or something like that. So it's so bad. So you have to be very careful what you deploy. Because that human empathy, and basically the AI doesn't have the world model. That's the problem that we have right now. So you have to be very careful, and you have to know what works. And this is where we say that AI plus humans work. Humans as agents are bored. I mean, doing the repetitive task again and again and again and again. Deploy AI to solve that repetitive task. Use it judicially. Then it works. So AI plus human is the way to go. And this is what we talk about. You sort of deploy. We have a cycle in place. I have not covered that cycle here because of the lack of time. But mainly it is like you start with agents. You start with, let's say, 100 agents. Take all the calls, take all the chats. Feed that calls and chat back into an AI engine. It trains by itself. Then again, deploy some of that traffic. We do A/B testing, basically. Like just you do A/B testing for websites, you can do A/B testing for your conversations. Move some of the chats back to the AI, move some of the chats to the human, escalate those chats, and this is a feedback loop. So the whole loop has to complete. This is the process that you need to deploy going forward. So that's what we talk about, AI and human working together. So what are some innovations that we can see in the future? Metaverse, obviously, these are some keywords that I have to use. Right now, it's nowhere close to being used, mainly because the tools are not there. The metaverse is there. I mean, you can go on the web, you can log into the metaverse, but you won't have that actual virtual world feeling unless you put on that Oculus. But we have already gone one step further. The Oculus Rift 2, that is wireless. So in my last event, I actually had brought that Oculus Rift 2. So you can actually put it on and move around, and it works pretty well. But the thing is, everybody has to have it. And unless everybody has it, there's no point in the metaverse. And I think a day will come when, actually, instead of the whole Oculus Rift, you sort of put on these glasses. Sort of put on the glasses, and you are in the virtual world, switch it on, and try it out, and those kind of things. So it will be the future. And if you are talking about metaverse, you are talking about virtual avatars, which will come in. I mean, rather than you speaking to me, if you go to the Bangalore airport, actually there's a virtual avatar. It doesn't do anything. It says, hello, 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 that's it. Nothing else it does, but at least it's an avatar, it's there. So they have started doing that. People have started to realize that avatars, virtual avatars will come, and all those kind of things. Some of the smaller innovations, which are not big, but help a lot. Trusted calls, whether it's Google verified calls or Truecaller, trusted calls, and small innovations like this, right? I mean, they save so much of our times. So we have to be thinking about that. Even that is being driven by AI, right? I mean, how do you mark something as spam? It can't be a human with the number of calls that is being made. So all of these things happen. You can have your own trusted call strategy within your network, within your company. So you can think of things like that. Yeah, from a customer-facing innovations, what have been deployed, the main things that have been deployed are the biggest thing. The biggest use case is chatbot, automated self-service. See, every time I ask, right, one of the questions I ask when we go and talk to customers, which I generally don't try to do, I try to avoid talking to customers. But if I go and talk to customers, the first thing I ask is, we are all customers. I mean, everybody says that deploy a chatbot. But then when I ask them, do you want to use a chatbot? They say, no, I don't want to use a chatbot. As businesses, every human doesn't want to talk to a chatbot. But then when it comes to deploying for their customers, they say, just deploy a chatbot. It doesn't work like that. You are also a customer, they are also a customer. It's exactly the same thing. So unless you are confident of using chatbots, that is not going to take off. So it's going to be a mixture of both, as I said. A chatbot to handle, obviously, if I just want to know the status of my delivery, let us say, I wouldn't want to talk to a human for that, wait in a queue. What's the status of my delivery? Give it, bot does it. But then there is a problem with my delivery, then I want to talk to a human agent. So this is where it's a mixture of both. So automated self-service is the biggest use case in the whole industry, and that's where so many companies are there which are doing things. Simultaneous multi-channel convergence, another big use case is you get on a call, and it asks you for the order number. And you say something like BA12345. Did I say BA or PA? And then I say, go back and say something like B for Bombay, A for something. Why can't I just type? Now, voice is also digital. When we say we should have a voice strategy or a digital strategy, it's nothing like that. Voice is now digital. It's all over the internet now. So we could actually have an omni-channel communication at the same time. And obviously intelligent chatbots and voice bots. So AI need not be used only on the customer-facing side. It can be used on the agent side also, on the supervisor side. These are some use cases which we have done, speech analytics, those kind of things we have deployed for different customers. Obviously, to analyze so many calls, how agents are performing and all that, AI can be used. So if you want to do an AI strategy, the first step I would suggest is first move to the cloud, because then your data starts getting collected in one place. And then you launch your AI, you start with data, identify patterns, A/B test, which I already explained, and then replace it. And then find the right CCaaS partner. Obviously, there are a lot of partners out there. Find the right partner which works with your process, whatever works for you, and then move on. The future is bright. Thank you. Exactly 0. Thanks, everyone.